Newcastle United lose 2-1 to Bournemouth, with the team find themselves on the brink. And as they do that, Newcastle fans wait with bated breath to find out what is the ownership stance on Eddie Howe. And also from the likes of Gordon and others, is it as Wiedersehen? Find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Oh, brilliant from Cher. And now Murphy could take on the shot. Fabian Cher
All right, folks. How are you all doing? How are you all doing? I hope you guys are blessed. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal week and a phenomenal day, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at, good, bad, or indifferent, success, failure, ups and downs, swings and roundabouts, or just a bit of normal inconsistency. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're right here with me. God bless you for that, folks. And I am looking forward to tonight's show. There's tons to talk about, really. It's crazy because we're going to be doing the scouting report on some really exciting, talented young forwards, but it asks a wider question, not only just on them, but also in terms of the evolution of Newcastle style and where we are as a team. So that's a big kind of review over that. But before that, we are going to be doing a match reaction ish sort of, because I'm going to be doing all the other stuff around it, which is obviously a match reaction to the defeat to Bournemouth. Going to go through, not in too much detail. Well, I'm going to go through it. Let's just put it this way: we're going to go through it, and there's something I wanted to talk about in it, which is the surrounding kind of media, online stuff around it. Eddie Howe in, or is Eddie Howe leaving, or should he resign, or all these other staff, as well as player exits, players in, players out, all these type of discussions I want to kind of include in this game itself. But so we're going to be doing all of that, and it was crazy because I've just finished doing the scouting reports and kind of putting the team data and everything together. And then I just realized, oh yeah, I've got to do what's called the match reaction, and kind of also sifting through the meat of it as well. And obviously just watched Chelsea. I don't know if you guys have watched Chelsea just now, getting absolutely battered by Brighton. That wasn't like a robbery. That was a resounding pounding that Brighton gave them. And it just makes you think. I'm about to get into it, actually. It makes you think that if we just strung a couple wins together, honestly, even just stopped to some of the individual errors, we we could have really got qualified for the Champions League again. So, but we are where we are. But before we get into it, as always, folks, I am blessed to have folks in the chat already joining me on for tonight's show. Tonight's show, depending when you are. We are around the world Toon Tactics TV. Some of you might be in South Africa and Florida, wherever you are. So God bless you guys wherever you're at. My man James is here. In fact, let me put my laptop's on a dim light. Sounds like I'm like squinting my eyes. I was thinking, why does everything feel so dark? Like, so let me before I get to reading the comments, let me just adjust my. Is it a bit too light now? Maybe it's a little bit too light. Can I get some balance? Let me get some balance. All right, we'll live with that. We'll live with that. My man James is here. Says Philip, I might struggle to watch everything. Unfortunately, I had a bit of an incident today where a fiber line it was broken at my house. Unfortunately, I'm struggling to borrow internet by a neighbor. That James, God bless you, man. For you to, yeah, it's just great to have you on to be right. No matter, I'm really humbling. I was like a nervous laughter, but it's like I'm really humbled that you're even. Yeah, you sound like you're going through a lot, but you're watching the show. So, really humbled that you're even going through it. So hopefully, internet gets fixed as well, real soon. But Yeah, man. I hope you're good. I hope you're good. Let me know if the holiday feel has worn off yet. Yes, Adrian Pickett is here. God bless Adrian's here. Even if Philip and James. Yes, sir. James says, at the moment, I cannot see the reason why they decided to keep Eddie. If they look at the season based not just on the last few weeks, if they look at it as a season, but not just as on the far. So I cannot see the reason why they decided to keep it. Okay, if they look at the season based on a few weeks, great question, and we're going to be going into that in a lot of depth. So guys, do actually, in fact, guys, do talk about feel free to talk about it from now. We're gonna be mentioning it. It's almost like now I was gonna say it's the game isn't of afterthought. Is the forefront of everything because it started a lot of things. So all right, 2-1. Couple things. I wanted to mention going into this game. This I think with now Bournemouth have gone 13 games undefeated. They've now won 2 away games on the trot. That is beating Arsenal at the Emirates and beating us at St James's Park. Whilst we're our defense is now getting worse than our attack really, and what can we say? What can we do? Expected goals. Excuse me. Expected goals for Bournemouth was at 2.99. So they should have scored 3 goals really against us. We had 1.59, 12 shots each, both shots for both us as 3 shots on target. They had 4 big chances. We had 2. They had 2 big chances missed. We had 1. And speaking of our defending, it was I think I'm trying to remember the second goal. I'm trying to remember the first goal, but it's the second goal in particular where I know, if you guys remember, it started with the move from Truffert on the left with his pass, and obviously he's the one who ended up scoring the goal himself. Nobody tracked him, not Jacob Murphy, not Bruno Gomes. Even when Tonali did manage to get back, his reaction to when the ball bounced towards him was slow. Didn't give enough. Not Jacob Ramsey, Aaron Ramsdale. His positioning for that was off. People are wondering. Funny enough, me and you guys remember on last week? No, this week. No, last week Thursday. Me and Mitch were looking at goalkeepers, and the goalkeepers that we're looking at were just like heads and shoulders above both Ramsdale and Pope. Like our goalkeeper situation is dire. Burn and Botman crash into each other. Whilst I think it was even Nilsson was able to get the pass. But someone mentioned it online when it comes to like our defenders themselves is individual, not our defending, but our defenders is that you kind of have to still feel sorry for our centre backs and for our defenders really, because and I just remember the first goal, but because we pass the ball out, we get the ball hardly sticks in the midfield or the front areas. We get dispossessed so quickly that the ball comes back and teams come back on the attack so quickly. Our defensive line never gets a breather. Our possession in midfield, our ability to control. We've talked about it before, folks, when we talked about the potential of buying a few more possession-based players. We're going to be talking about one of them today. But our ability to keep the ball, to dictate play, is 0 at this moment in time. It is 0. And I feel sorry for them. I just remember the first goal. Obviously, Rayan down the right-hand side, which is our left-hand side against Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall too easily beaten on that side. He was substituted by half time. Eddie Howe said it's a tactical change. You guys didn't even know about Lewis Hall. I didn't. Apart from the goal, maybe the goal is enough maybe the goal is enough to change him. But I didn't. I just didn't think from the beginning that it was. He was that bad. Maybe I have to look back at the game for him to be changed at half time. But regardless, he was changed. He didn't want to. He didn't want to risk any more goals coming down that side. They came anyway in the second half. He then put Livramento at left back with Trippier on the right. Now Trippier did a decent job, but Livramento then ends up pulling his groin. I don't even know. Does anyone know the extent of his injuries? Because it looked bad, the fact that he had to get taken off. And, you know, is he going to get to the World Cup? Is he going to get his transfer? But more importantly for us is it looks like we're now short of a right back. It was just a dire performance. And I think also, someone mentioned it again, I agree with this to an extent, which is it's not a lack of effort. I know that a few people are talking about down in tools and things of that nature. I personally don't think it's that. I do think that it's more of a case of there is a lack of quality, especially in our front lines. We're going to talk about the front lines in a moment. The lack of threat from them. Barnes obviously can never be a wide forward. He's an inside forward, but with the way that we play, we need to play. We sometimes need him to go out wide, but his dribbling is just not good enough for it. Elanga, wow, Elanga. I I always say that in general my rule on new transfers I give 2 years, and I'm he's probably going to say the next year for us, but you've had a poor year. I'm going to be talking about Lang a little bit more later on, but he's had such a poor year. Quality wise, it's been breathtakingly bad. It really, really has. He can't do the short passes. His timing is off. Um, he's not seeing. He's not being. He's not being creative. He's not seeing the pass that could create the part that could create the assist. There's a real nervousness about him. He's been so ineffectual. It's scary. I don't know how many times he enters the box. I don't think it's a lot. And it's just dire. Now, Usola, is going to ask, this is obviously where Captain Bruno comes along, shows everybody he's literally three or four levels above everybody in the team, and he's like 50% fit, 40% fit, and he still manages to be 3 or 4 levels above everybody else. Incredible. He fought. I know that obviously the ball came off of Ivan Nilsson, I want to say, but Bruno Gomes forced that play, and it ends up going to Usola. And I thought Usola was terrific in the way he rolled a defender. And by the way, again, folks, when we're talking about, we're going to get into a minute, he rolled a defender, he uses pace, and it's actually a really, really good finish from him as well. If people aren't going to like it, but you tell me if Voldemort can do that. Or has he done that so far? But that's why Usola's playing above Voldemort. Anyway, I think that's the only ray of light at the moment is Osola's form, and I think it's 2-2 for him. So he's justifying the reason why Eddie Howe. I know people keep on saying we've got 125 million pounds in the bench, but no one's saying that the guy that's replacing them, Usola, has been scoring, has been scoring the goals, and that actually justifies the reason for his selection. Had our defending been better, and we, got points from these games against Palace and Bournemouth, we'll probably be talking more and more about Osola and Eddie Howe being justified in putting Voltamada and Whistle on the bench. But we're not. We're losing, and so it's having the opposite effect. And I'm going to stop talking in a moment and see what you guys are saying in the chat. But my kind of zooming out and my wider kind of concerns is we've got Arsenal to play. The next 5 games is going to be, if we carry on like this, and we're going to get into PIF coming down and news about Eddie Howe potentially staying, getting you guys' thoughts on all of that. But these next 5 games could be the longest five games of the season. If we continue playing like this could be the longest 5 games that we could ever have of the season, honestly. So let me know, guys. Can we get it together? Can we get it together? It's not useless looking at stats and stuff like that. It never is. But because it's for me, such a psychological and emotional thing at the moment, there are players who will know, if not now, but from at least a couple months ago, that they're not in Newcastle's plans going forward into the next year. And there'll be players who want to leave, right? There's already rumors around Gordon. Is he actually injured? Is he actually not injured? I think it's a bit harsh on Gordon, to be honest. And I'll tell you why, which is we all know what he did 4 or 5 years ago to get to Newcastle. He refused to train. All this became very, very public. That was 4 or 5 years ago when he's 20, 21 years old. Since that time, it was us who tried to sell him to Liverpool when we messed up with our PSR. It was in the season where he got 20 GA, 20 plus GA for us. He wasn't asking for a move. He was very, very happy. And we, out of the blue, called him and said, we're going to sell you. We ended up not selling him and selling Elliot Anderson and Yakuba Minte. And look where that's taken us as well. But the psychological and emotional effect of that was 2 ways for him. One is, I can only imagine from his point of view, hold on, I can have 20 GA season and at a drop of a hat, he would sell me like that. You didn't go to Isak, you didn't go to Bruno, you didn't go to, maybe some other players that maybe he might have thought is better than. You went straight to me. So I already know what my value is to you guys. It's not a lot. Plus, there was also an opportunity of going to his childhood team. And that might have felt like it was snatched for him. But what he didn't do, which is what Isak did, is go public with it, throw his toys at the pram, refuse to play, and essentially, do a runner, all these other things. He didn't do that. And I give him a lot of credit for that because it was us who instigated it, the whole problem and the whole scenario. So I give Gordon a lot of credit for that. I like to think that he isn't undoing all those good past decisions by refusing to play now. And I don't think it would make sense, to be honest, because he's got the World Cup coming up. We're literally being very public and very open about, hey, if you want our players, we're not going to get in our way of any buying clubs. This is our valuations, meet our valuations. Please do it as early as possible, and then we'll keep it moving. So I really don't see it from his perspective of why he needs to do that. I hope Gordon is not doing that. If he is doing that, I'll be hugely disappointed. But let me see what you guys are saying in the chat before we move on with things and talk about a few more other things as well. Oliver, good to see you. God bless you. He says, Alonso and Nagelsmann are the only managers are to take over Eddie. Everyone else is either a sideways or a backwards move. Yeah, I don't know enough about Nagelsmann, but he always, and both Alonso, I know obviously about Alonso, but both Nagelsmann and Alonso, Nagelsmann more so, perhaps, they strike me as, like those talented kids. I don't know if you've been around, like maybe you grew up with someone super, super talented and it feels like they never really had to they struggled in their own way, but they didn't really have to like struggle, and they had the right connections in life, you know, and so they went up the escalator really really quickly. A lot of legendary footballers get that. Your Frank Lampard's and Steven Gerrard's. And my worry is that they rise too quickly, and if they were to go to our club, a club like ours, where you are going to get on hard times, how will they react? How will they respond? I guess is my only worry about them. Let me know what you think about Pochettino, for instance, and playing teams like that. I'll be good to see. Michael, good to see you. God bless you. Good to see you, sir. Salute to you, sir. Salute to you. Salute to you, Michael. Oliver said, if we beat Arsenal, then Brighton will be all right. Sorry, I'm laughing. I don't know if you're joking, but I mean, I hope 3-0 Brighton. Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm only laughing because, like, I'm so that performance against what do you call it, Bournemouth was scary. Cheers, God bless you. Cheers, good to see you, sir. Audience to South Africa. Hi, Philip, mate. Hope you're well. I'm listening in the background, but won't be active. I'm on a night shift. Oh, God bless you on your night shift. Do your thing, man. I remember doing night shifts, man, when I was working in a superstore here in England back in the day, man. But happy to listen to the show. Good company as always. Feels less alone. Hey, man. Because I know you're doing that, I'll make sure we'll keep shouting you out, Ches, man. Hope you're good, man. Hope that and I'm sure you do this. I did this anyway. I don't know if you work in a store, but never look at the time if you can. Try to avoid looking at the time. It makes it go by slower. Ches says, hey, James and Adrian. Sorry, talking to James and Adrian. My guys from Fair Play TV, God bless you. Big up Preach from Fair Play TV. Exceptional content creators and great channel, guys. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to Fair Play TV, please do. In fact, like and subscribe to this channel first, then go to Fair Play TV. Please, folks, as always, please do like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Oliver says, in other words, yeah, we're not good. We're not good at the moment, Oliver. That's right. We're not good. Kes says the Lewis Hall change was confusing. He wasn't great and was at fault for the goal, but Livramento was having an even worse. Yeah, I agree, Ches. I almost feel like it almost didn't matter. which one? Which one? I think Eddie Howe was between a rock and a hard place, to be honest. I think it was between a rock and a hard place. Really could have taken them both off and just put Trips and Burn on straight away. Imagine Burn. James says nothing from Craig, so we've got to wait for Eddie. We might lose him for a week if so. Okay. Strangely, Livramento had a better game on the left as he usually does. Yeah, one right back and one LB. Oliver says Elan could be the worst signing in Premier League history. Yeah, we said that about Joe Linton. Like we've had some crazy signings and stuff like that. I'm not saying this because Preacher's here, but could it be Isak for 120? We could have done worse. We could have bought Elanga for 130 million, and he played three games for us. But no, look, we'll see. I'll give him. I will. I hear where you're coming from. But I'm gonna stick to my rule about 2 years for players. Ches says all DIA is the Premier League's worst ever player. Ali Dia. His great agent called Graham Souness and convinced him that he was George Weah's cousin, but he had never played pro before. It was a scam. That's crazy. That is crazy. Oliver, so I'm not looking forward to the next 5. I'm honestly, I'm in that place. I'm in that place, Oliver. The whole country needs to get it together for Arsenal. I'm telling you guys, if you're, I know you've heard me say it before. If you guys are relying on us to get one over Arsenal, I'm sorry. I wish, and you know me, typically, I'll have something. There'll be something. I'll have something. that Bournemouth result knocked the wind out of me. Like even watching that, that was like, oh, okay. So we're not even tracking back no more. We're not even tracking back anymore. We're not even doing the stuff that we were good at before. Okay. Okay. We're gonna see how that goes. Ches says, thanks for the shout, Philip. Much appreciated, sir. Anytime. Anytime to you, Ches. Thank you for reminding me, James, for the WhatsApp group. Yes, I need to. I'm going to get on it. I'm going to get on. I'm going to get a whole new phone and everything else. So yes, I am going to put it together. So that's for folks who are wondering, what are you talking about WhatsApp group? I'm going to start a WhatsApp group, a Toon Tactics TV WhatsApp group. Notify you guys of when the show's coming on. I know that sometimes people don't get it on their YouTube, but also just start up a little, keep the community going. We're on twice a week, but sometimes it's good to talk throughout the week as well. Get to know from you guys what you guys want to talk about, and just in general. So I'll be starting that WhatsApp channel with you folks, and thank you for James for reminding me. All right, so a couple other news I wanted to catch up on. That's the game. Well, we're still going to talk about the games in part because there's other news that are linked to it that we need to talk about before we get on to the whole to players and scouting of players and everything else. So okay, it's all in a bit of a mix, and I haven't got it all in order, but it's all kind of fixed in together. So even news today that apparently Eddie Howe was on Manchester United's shortlist. So for we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's been reported that obviously Public Investment Fund (PIF) are to meet with Eddie Howe next week. People are making a whole big thing about it. They're going to come and talk to him. Like, I don't think it's going to be that like one of those ones where they're going to be like, sort your stuff out. They can do it on the phone. I think that's the whole vibes that I feel like the media are going to get. They're going to wave the finger. They're going to come down and look him in the eye. I don't think they need to do that, right? Plus, they haven't got time to be doing all of that. For me personally, I think it's more to finalize transfers and everything else. That's what I think. But as some of you have already talked about and already alluded to, we've had obviously conversation about, or some confirmation from some outlets talking about how Eddie Howe, the owners fully back Eddie Howe, how he's staying essentially. You guys already know my thoughts and feelings about that, and that is, I think he should stay. I think he's an elite manager, and I think that he's not without fault in this season. I do think there's at least 8 to 10 to 11 points we could have had if we made a few better decisions tactically. But I think the overriding mitigating circumstances is more on the owners and the fact that there's been big changes, as I keep mentioning, and I'm going to keep mentioning it. And that is that the approval process for transfers is no longer in Saudi Arabia with PIF, which is all the way in Saudi Arabia, essentially UAE. But we have to wait for days and weeks to get approval. It's going to be localized now here in Tyneside with our board, so decisions are going to be done a lot more quickly. And that was really the main thing that was really hurting our transfers, which hindered us obviously from moving and developing the team forward. And I think the fact that David Hopkinson, Wilson are back in Eddie Howe, from what it looks like, it's an acknowledgement of that. I think remember Hopkinson had the 100-day review of everything at Newcastle, and that was one of the big changes. In fact, I can't remember which outlet it was that said that Hopkinson was only going to stay or go to Newcastle if that approval process was changed, because it shows just how serious it was. Because it doesn't matter if it's Luis Enrique managing Newcastle, or we've got the Luis Campos, and Luis Campos is our sporting director. If they can't get players over the line in a quick turnaround time, and competitors and rivals come and snap those players up, there is no point. It doesn't matter. So it just who the manager is or who the sporting director is. So that lets you know how important that particular decision was. And so it's good to see that happen, obviously, for us. Now, lots of debate about Eddie Howe, online conversations about what it's like on the match day. It seems at the moment that, as has been reported by Craig Hope and others, that the fans are still like chanting Eddie Howe's name mainly. He's still getting a lot of support. But so essentially, he's not kind of out of favor with the match going fans at this moment in time. So I think that's a good thing. I think that shows that there is maturity in our owners at this time as well. But let me know how you guys feel about it. There's something else I wanted to add to this before we get on to Gordon. But yeah, apparently, Eddie Howe is on Man United shortlist. That's great. That's interesting. Um, um, yeah, so that's the main thing. James says Sven Botman got a lot of hate, but he wasn't even worse than centre backs Chow this time. Yeah, I don't think it's. I can't blame our centre backs that much. They don't get any rest because of our midfield and because of our forwards. Honestly, they don't get any break because of those guys. Adrian says, I hope to goodness PIF aren't back in EH, utterly depressing if true. I think they are. Let me know why it's depressing for you. And this isn't anybody like from my kind of conversations with people online mainly and on WhatsApp actually, with folks with other kind of fans online, everything else. The main reasons appear to be around, Eddie Howe on the transfers, got the wrong players in, Eddie Howe tactically, Eddie Howe it's gone stale with him. They need a different voice. Um, uh, and then there's like the more ones where it's like he was meant to be the stepping stone while we're still here. So it comes across more and more kind of from that side of things that they just didn't. Not everyone, but like there's different groups. I guess I'm gonna go with the best arguments I've got from the kind of folks that are kind of Eddie Howe out. And it's obviously in terms of or tactically where things are with him at the moment. Saying tactically, excuse me, kind of breaking it down. What does that mean? We know that Eddie Howe prefers, for instance, man-to-man marking and kind of the high press, but we've been undone by that so many times this season. It's absolutely scary. How do we continuously? We're 25 points. We've lost 25 points from winning positions. Why, why have we done more to address that when you can see that pattern, for instance, forming individual errors? Now, you can only blame a manager for individual errors so much. I don't think you can really, to be honest. Individual errors are the players' errors. What's happening with them? And it could be things outside of what a manager can directly affect. For instance, if you're Pope, who's had a lot of individual errors, if, for instance, we come to find out that he's leaving this season, his contract hasn't been extended, there's emotional things attached to that, and there's not everything that Eddie Howe can do with that. Do you know what I mean? So there's reasons for all these things. Is what I'm saying. I also do think so. Like I said, the best arguments have been tactically kind of. If I'm kind of taking most arguments at their best, at their worst, though, and this is the frustrating part, people will know this from kind of me discussing this on time, like previously with Mitch on the show and kind of going through it, is essentially people going on about his transfer record and how he needs to stay away from recruitment, which I think is insane because he approves all of our transfers and we have like a 70, 80, 90% success rate of our transfers. They've been phenomenal. Bruno, Botman, Hall, Chow, Isak, Gordon, Barnes. Tino, all these players, Tonali, Ramsey, have all been incredible for us. And then they'll go on, but then you get your Relangas, obviously, but that's just like one player. If you guys know the success rate for transfers, for ordinarily on average is about 30-40%. And we've been doing way better than that. Then they'll say Wissa and Voltemada. And I'm like, how can you forget the fact that Wissa and Voltemada are like our fourth and fifth strikers? How Eddie Howe wanted João Pedro, he wanted Ekatike, then he wanted then he wanted Pedro Sheshko, Ekatike, Pedro, Ekatike, and then Sheshko. And those guys were our fourth and fifth choices, right? Those were guys who were our top of our list, and we didn't get them. So Eddie's top targets are the ones that, had we even had Trafford top target, we could have had Trafford and João Pedro, goalkeeper and striker. And that, right now, I think we'd be in fifth with those two playing for us, because we wouldn't have the same amount of goalkeeping errors. It would definitely have a striker with more goals on, as well, Mbaye, who's able to bring other players into play. So I'm a bit surprised by that. I'm a bit surprised. I said like, we need whenever I had another contributor said this, whenever we had sporting directors, we've had a good recruitment. I'm like, what? It couldn't be Paul Mitchell, because Paul Mitchell didn't stay at the club long enough, and he left before the actual transfer window happened. He messed up the Malik Chow deal, which was in place last year. Tried to pay nearly 70 million for Gahey instead. He just totally messed up our last transfer window. The club. Dan Ashworth betrayed the club, and Dan Ashworth doesn't identify players. He himself says, I don't scout and identify players. He describes himself as a spoken the wheel. He brings together the actual scouts together with data and with the actual kind of business of getting players over the line, going out there. He's the person in the middle who does all those things and raises the academy and makes sure all the departments are kind of communicating with each other. He doesn't. We know this because he literally did an interview about this, I think, on BT Sport. So it's not Dan Ashworth saying, "Oh, that Tonali's good," or that Lewis Hall and that is good. Eddie Howe, I think you should be getting those players. It's the other way around. I think that's the frustrating part, where people just thinking that Eddie Howe is just and they're just like, and then what frustrates me more is that we've got fans that keep on buying into the narrative of Brexit Eddie, essentially, that all he does is get Dan Burns and Trippier's, one of our most expensive signings. Two of our most expensive are both from abroad. Isak, who had 5 goals in La Liga that season, and Voltemada. And I'm like, I don't mind. Like I keep on saying, I don't mind it so much if it's opposition fans, because opposition fans are opposition fans. But when it's our own fans who don't know, like who just don't know or are buying into the narrative, I find it even more frustrating. So that's where it's at. Then people keep on saying, the last thing I'm going to talk is, they keep on saying 700 million, and the money keeps on going up. 700 million spent, 800 million spent, right? It keeps on going up. And then what did he do with it? Like, he didn't do anything with it. They're saying 700 million. Say it's 700 million. It's 700 million spent. What, in that one? Did he spend 700 million in one summer? No, he spent it over 5 years. It's about 10 to 11 transfer windows. It doesn't sound, 700 million doesn't sound so big after that, does it? And we all know, because I keep on saying it on this show, is that even this last January window, we didn't spend any money. But we all know before last summer, we went for 3 transfer windows, where we spent no money on a first team player. That's 18 months. And we still won the League Cup and got Champions League qualification with it. And I keep on saying to people that say, 700 million spent. I said, name me a manager who doesn't get to buy a first team player in 18 months, still wins a trophy and qualifies for the Champions League. And inevitably, when those people that made that particular argument, inevitably they will say, "Ah, you quit living in the past. Quit living in the past. You've been sentimental," because they can't answer that. They can never answer that first initial question, which is, okay, if he's so bad with the money, how come he's so good without it? Essentially, and how can he still manage to show you what a good elite coach he is by being able to win? Why do you keep on saying 700 million as if he spent that money in one summer window when it's 5 seasons, 10 to 11 transfer windows? I don't understand it. Bournemouth did this or that team did that. Bournemouth spent more money than us the previous summer because we didn't spend any money. Do you know how many teams spent more money than us in those free transfer windows? But no one ever mentions that. When Newcastle weren't spending any money on first team players before last summer for free transfer windows, there's clubs who got relegated that spent more money than us. I just don't get this argument that they keep on throwing at us, and it's so like, you get like the likes of True Geordie and others saying we spent 700 million and these guys spent 150 million, and I'm like, Hal's been here for 5 years. This manager's been there for a year. How can you even compare the two? And the thing is, everybody like reposts, like no one like doesn't even question it. Like it doesn't even make sense. It's that I'm like, how does this make sense? Right? So it's just poor analysis on every level, in my opinion. In regards to his spending, keep him away. Don't let him buy any players. What, you don't want no more Isak, you don't want no more Tonali, and you don't want any more of those players. Is that what we're saying? Like I don't understand it. And if he's such a poor manager, how did he get us League Cup and the Champions League with no money spent? And stop telling me sentimental. And that's the other thing I want. And I'm going to end it on this: the sentiment. A couple of things actually. The sentimentality thing around, like people are talking about like stop. And the only reason they keep on saying sentimentality is because they don't want to have a holistic argument. They want to narrow it down to this particular period where there's a downturn and this particular period only. They don't want to talk about even in this season where we've reached the last 16 of the Champions League, which we as Newcastle fans have never seen in our lives. We've never ever seen the last 16 of the Champions League. And yet we've also made another semi-final for the domestic, for League Cup as well. And then we want to narrow down to this particular period to explain his whole tenure as a manager. It's insane. This level of analysis is poor. It's poor. Why do you not want to talk about what literally happened less than a year ago? Because it undoes your whole argument. They keep on saying, "Oh, everyone knows you only judge managers year one season after the next." No one. Who created that rule? Who made that rule up? Season by season, who made that rule up? If that's the case, then do you know how many good managers wouldn't still be at their jobs? Ferguson, Moyes, all these other managers. Who created that analysis? And again, they only do this, in my point of view, because no one really wants to have a holistic argument about it. It's such like they want to imbalance. I'll embrace it. Me personally, I embrace it all. This downturn period, and with the good stuff and the bad stuff, then we can have a proper conversation about it. And they keep on, and the last bit I'm going to stop talking in a minute. Standards. Where's the standards? And I'm like, this is when I realize that maybe whoever keeps talking about standards is watching too much YouTube, too much Arsenal AFTV. And they're trying to recreate that. And that's what's shaping them. When fans from those clubs are talking about standards, they have something to lean on in the most recent history. Whether you're an Arsenal fan, you have Arsene Wenger, Chelsea have multiple Ancelotti's, Mourinho's, Man United, Ferguson, Liverpool, even Jurgen Klopp. That's what they're talking about, the standards. Eddie Howe is our Jurgen Klopp. Eddie Howe is our Mourinho. Because before Eddie Howe was Steve Bruce. So this whole argument about standards doesn't work. Because the manager who created the standards is Eddie Howe. It's just poor. It's poor analysis, honestly. And if you don't like Eddie Howe, you don't like Eddie Howe, it's cool. Do you know what I mean? I prefer you just say that. It's all right to say that instead of making up stuff. So anyway, enough of me. That's where I was at. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. NFC Nev says, hi, buddy. God bless you. NFC Nev says, hi, buddy. How's you? I'm going back to the beginning as only just realized you're on. God bless you, Nevs. Look, feel free to continue listening from now, literally as well. Like, it'd be great to get your comments in, but I appreciate you, Nevs, as well. I don't know if it's your first time to the channel. If it isn't, forgive me. But God bless you. Either way, welcome to the show. As always, James says, Como is out of the Coppa Italia, but semi-final, and it was a close one. She shows a real promise that a manager for me, Cesc Fabregas. Yeah, he's doing well. I think he needs to continue staying there. There's too many links. There's other been links, but if I was him, I'd stay there for as long as possible. I think it's his second year. Stay. Do another couple of years. Feel some hardships. Have a month or two where you haven't won a game. Earn your stripes. And then turn it around. You know what I mean? And finish in a high position. You're going to learn more from those 1 or 2 months of not winning the game than you are of winning and playing silky football constantly. That's what I mean for these guys as well, in my opinion. That's what that's what I would do if I was Cesc. James says, with the money that we can offer Cesc, Fabregas would be an amazing manager. Give him the players that he needs to play both tactics that he uses. I don't know too much about his style. I'll have to look into it. Maybe that's something to look forward to in the future, actually. Adrian says, I feel like there was a manager I was looking at recently. Probably not. Adrian says, if the only measure of how is in comparison with Bruce, we're in a massive trouble. But that's it, though, isn't it? I don't know who else when they say standards. I don't understand where the standard thing comes from. I don't get it. Personally. Alanda, God bless you, is overjoyed PIF are back in Eddie. So am I. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are. I know I went on a bit of a rant, and maybe I hope it hasn't put anybody off from speaking their minds, to be honest. It's not even really aimed at or said anything towards anyone to the chat, of course not, but there's more conversations I had online with people in the WhatsApp group. And like I said, I'm more disappointed with actual Newcastle fans rather than like opposition fans. Opposition fans, I understand it. Like they don't know the nuance. They shouldn't necessarily know the nuances and everything else around that. But it's our own fans, really. And it's our own fans sound like other fans. Like, I always felt like, especially when I'm going on rival TV rival channels and everything else, like I always felt like that we're unique. We are unique because of what we've been through as a fan base. And that we're different in terms of we've had those humbling experiences of relegation, not once but twice, and multiple battles against relegation and everything else like that. And then Mike Ashley years, 14 years of Mike Ashley, goodness help us. And so I always felt that we're I don't know what the word is. I was gonna say down to earth, maybe something like that. But Eddie spelt us rotten. because some of the feedback I'm getting from people, and like I said, it's not everyone. That doesn't mean just because you're Eddie Howe out, in my view, that you're spoiled. They're not at all. Like I said, there's some really good arguments, and it's really a 50-50 situation. It wouldn't surprise me if they did let him go, especially if the next 5 games prove to be dire. But I almost worry for the next manager coming in. If we're already like this, I'm kind of. It's almost like I'm protecting the club. Really, I'm trying to, like, I don't want us to, like, I can't control. I'm not going to control. I can only control myself. And yes, I'm Eddie Howe in, but I'm not going to be. I'm going to be consistent with the next manager. I'm going to meet them where they're at. Someone obviously mentioned Cesc Fabregas. Cesc Fabregas never managed the Champions League or multiple competitions. So if Cesc Fabregas took over Newcastle, in my mind, I'm already expecting us to suffer in our league form, to be knocked out in the cups early, but to play a certain style of football and to wait a number of years for him to get it. So that's how I'll back him. Can you imagine with the way that, especially online, people are at kind of backing Fabregas in that way? Would people feel the same about Fabregas if he went a month, 2 months without winning a game, but was still playing pretty football, possession-based football? I don't think so. So that's my worry. That's my worry about. So I'm happy that PIF are talking like this. To be honest, Adrian says, I just don't see the elite Eddie you do feel. No, that's fair enough. And I've sat patiently through many of your attempts to explain it. You know what you have, Adrian. You have. And if I was in your shoes, you showed a considerable amount of patience and humbleness, especially when you disagree. So God bless you for that, sir. James says 3-4-2-1 and 4-2-3-1. His main tactics, one's a little bit more defensive. Oh, that's Fabregas. That's the 3 at the back system, and there's more touching system is in the 4 attacking. He's been through burner. I don't get that last bit. But yeah, that sounds interesting though. If there's any link to how kind of, maybe I'll have to look up on YouTube and stuff like that, other kind of how he does it. Arlanda says a minority of our fan base have turned into Veruca salts, demanding I want it now. Very disillusioned with some of our fan base. Yeah. It's the ones that sound like, and I'm not even kind of going at AFTV. Like AFTV is unique in what like it was, like when I say AFTV, I don't even mean the channel, but I mean like that particular period. It's such a unique period of time. Arsenal were going through such a dire situation that it became such a raw and authentic reaction from the fans itself, and everything that came. So it was organic. Do you know what I mean? It was real. It was authentic. It was unique to Arsenal. It was unique to Arsenal because they had Wenger. They'd seen Premier Leagues. They'd seen Invincibles. And then they went through this dire, barren period. And it all exploded towards the end. And, then Unai Emery. So it all became, it's unique to their club. And I feel like people are taking that and then just applying it to Newcastle. And they sound like the AFTV guys, but without the history, that's unique to the Arsenal fans. I'm just surprised at that. I'm like, you mean we saw Championship together 5-6 years ago? What are we on about? Standards. I don't know, man. I don't get it. Adrian says, I think a major factor amongst fans' expectations is when we started following the club. For me, it was Keegan era. Me too. And that might be the separation as well. And to me, it took a while for me to even acknowledge that especially when we're in our when we're going that we're a bad that we're not that club anymore. It probably even took me the second relegation to realize, oh yeah, we're bad. Like I thought maybe the first one might have been the fluke. It wasn't the fluke. We're like, oh, this is desperate. And then I remember with under Ashley where I made the mistake of once looking. I remember I said it. Maybe I've said this before of going on Leicester City's football website because I heard they had the new training ground, and I wanted to see what that was like. And the jealousy that fell upon me because that was in and around maybe that period of, or maybe I can't remember if it was in and around that same period, but I remember connecting it to the fact that we had players in that dinghy, in that rubber dinghy, for their rehydration, while these guys had a full of modern, and that was Leicester. And I was like, oh, we're finished. We're actually finished. Like we're just, when players had to like get ice baths and wheelie bins. And I'm like, oh yeah. This is bad. Jeez Louise. James says in Serie B, to what I heard, it was big challenge for him. For Fabregas, okay. I need to maybe look at Fabregas, have some study of him as well. But fans would have to be patient with a manager like him. Honestly, Rafa's in the wheelie bins. That was it. That was the agent. Rafa in the wheelie bins. Jeez, man, I'm getting PTSD just talking about it. Right, so let's move on, but let's keep talking. Like I said, I don't mind you guys keep talking about Eddie Howe and other things, but we're gonna begin with the scouting report, but we're gonna start off with the potential exit of Mr. Anthony Gordon. Now again, for me and on this show with you guys already know that I'm already like maybe this is part of like me trying to manage my expectations psychologically, emotionally for the transfers. But like I like to think that we're way ahead in regards to player exits. I'm already expecting 2 or 3 starters to leave this season. Obviously, leading candidates at the moment is Gordon, Tonali, and Livramento, and have been for a very, very long time, right? In fact, to the point of where you guys know that I've already constructed like a SCR financial model. I've got the design. We're going to say a little bit later. Gap. So I'm already well kind of ahead of the. And I like to think we are all ahead of the play already. So I mentioned that because a lot of the media posts around this stuff is like, is he gonna go? What's the fans gonna say? And I'm like, oh, come on, man. let's get on with. I think I'm at a stage of like, come on, I want to see who the next guy is that's gonna come in. I'm already that ready for it, to be honest. But it says obviously Time Sport, Newcastle United are prepared to open talks to sell Anthony Gordon to Bayern Munich if the German champions match their 75 million valuation to the English forward. I've personally seen a lot of follow-ups to this from quite relatively trusted sources as well. And okay, a couple of things really. So that being is that Bayern only want to pay like 50-55 million, which they're joking. They're absolutely joking for Anthony Gordon. And my understanding from what I've seen in some of those sources that this, what the Time Sport everybody's covering now, they're kind of like a couple of days or a week behind, where essentially this has already kind of been dealt with, i.e. Newcastle aren't going to take 55 million. Bayern Munich aren't going to reach anywhere close to 70-75 million for Gordon. I've probably moved on. And really, I think Newcastle are waiting for kind of higher bids from your Premier League clubs, Fair Play TV, Liverpool, Even Chelsea are getting into the mix. So I expect this price to go up. To be honest, to go up or to be met. Um, that's where we're at with him. So I mentioned that to mention this for a couple of reasons. Obviously, that's the exit. Uh, is a first team player, has been exceptional for us this season. We're going to focus on the left wing forward position. We're going to talk about, first of all, a little bit about the front line in general, because I feel like, well, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of surgery all over our squad. Midfield is the least priority. Defense is, there's a lot going on there, especially if Tino goes as well, which I think he will. Um, but the forward line, there is a lot of work to be done there, and we're going to be focusing on the left wing forward area. But but it's not in isolation. It all kind of ties into um, the front line area in general. Obviously, the opening problem is that obviously Anthony Gordon is leaving. Is an incredible amount of output from GA standard point of view, other things that he adds to the team that needs to be filled. And so when we're looking at potential new players and people to fill that gap, we're gonna have to kind of consider whether they're able to fill that output or not. February 70 million, it's a deal. uh, James says Bayern will offer the money we're asking for. Let's see. Let's see. I hope they do. I prefer him to play abroad than in England, but we'll see. Phil says, take the money and run. Phil follows up and says, no doubt he'd do well with Bayern, but who doesn't at a monopoly club? Exactly. And sometimes you just want to win and be in the Champions League regularly and play next to Harry Kane. So, that does your England chances a lot of world of good playing next to Harry Kane. So, no, it makes a lot of sense for him if he were to do it. But we need our money. We need our money. So, as I mentioned, like I said, this isn't just something that I cooked up today. You guys know we've been doing this for ages. I've been updating it. Players that are likely to go high, medium likely to go, and low. Now, if some of you are keen now will notice I put Jacob Murphy and Joe Linton. Jacob Murphy is almost like a wish at this stage. I hate to say that, but in terms of I feel like in terms of output, what we need to create, what we need for our forward line, and his age, his limitations and quality, we're going to talk about in a minute. We need to replace, but you can see where we're at. A lot of players leaving, potentially even more than 8. We'll see, but that's where we're at. And kind of again, my kind of estimations about how much we could be bringing in and how much we could be selling, and looking at the team as a whole. So let's focus on the forward line. We did the goalkeepers last time. We looked at the defense previously. Let's look at the forward line. Where is it? Before we get into it, I've got the wrong slide here, but all these on the right-hand side that are undecided about whether they're going to leave or not should be on the lead. Well, Usola should be on the undecided one. But I think so far, what's likely is that Gordon and Wissa, I think we're actively trying to sell Wissa. And I think we're ready to take the hit. There's clubs that are offering 15, 20 million for him in England. And I think there's also clubs in Turkey that are offering about 30, 35 million. I think we're ready to take that 20, 30 million loss on him. That's how bad it is. It doesn't matter too much with an SCR, because an SCR doesn't necessarily look at losses too much, but it looks more like the financial projection. So with a Wissa, who's on like 140k, and his amortization, should we be able to sell him, it takes off a considerable amount of money it doesn't count necessarily too much of the loss that it is, as not as much as the PSR would have. So I think we're ready to take that hit on Wissa. We're ready to sell him, honestly. I think we're revving up to sell him. What I hope, though, as well, is that we keep Osola. He's impressing me more and more. I don't think he's the finished article. I'm not even sure what level he's going to be at. But I'd prefer to keep Osola than to sell than Jacob Murphy at this stage. So we'll see where we're at. But obviously, at the top of that list is Mr. Anthony Gordon, and he's in a whole different situation compared to Osola and to Wissa. So let's talk about it. Before we do that, we've got James says, I will put Sandro in medium chance now. The only thing is that I would say that is that Eddie has given him a captain's badge, and he said one of his best games against Bournemouth in a while. He had a decent game. I thought that he could have done better for the second goal, but I don't know what you mean. I wonder if he put on the badge because he had nobody else, James. I don't know who else. Jacob Murphy was on the bench this time. I don't know if he had anybody else, but it might be an indicator. You might be onto something, James. You might be onto something. Right. So this is just to highlight the point around. I want to put a forward line in general and where we need to take it to before we go into the scouting profiles, because of the performance of our forward line in general is somewhere of a mid to lower tier team. It's been poor. Ooh, apologies, needed to yawn there. But going from right to left, obviously we're going to finish on the left side. Our right wingers, our right wing forwards. Jacob Murphy this year in all competitions has got 8 GA, 4 goals and 4 assists. Out of the 41 matches he's been involved in. And we've really played, I don't know how many played games this season already, 50 plus. He scored 3 goals in the Premier League with 1 assist. So 3 of those goals came in the Premier League. And then obviously in the Champions League, he's got 3 assists and 1 goal. But 3 goals, and what's my output here? 3 goals and 1 assist in the Premier League is not good enough. Elanga, I don't think we're going to sell it. If we sell Elanga as well, that would be ruthless and stuff I didn't see before. I don't think we're going to do that. But Elanga's got 4 GA this season. Most of those goals came in other cup competitions. In the Premier League, he's got 0 goals. 0 goals he's got in the Premier League with 1 assist. That's from 29 matches played. Now, he hasn't started in those games, obviously, a lot of those games. He's played 12, nearly 1,300 minutes. But 0 goals and 1 assist for 55 million is hopelessly bad. So if you put both of them together, it's like 12 GA between 2 players. In the Premier League alone, they're like 5 GA from the right side. That's scary bad, guys. That's relegation form stuff. So there's a lot to be done there. I just don't see how we keep Jacob Murphy. I just don't see how we keep Jacob Murphy, how we keep that right side as it is. Because I don't see Jacob Murphy getting better. There's more hope for Elanga to get better. Elanga can do better than what the stats has got at the moment. And if we get a better striker next to him, I think he'll improve. I don't see how Jacob Murphy improves. Oliver says Elanga needs to go. I don't believe he's a footballer. Oliver wants to get rid of both of them. It's bad. I don't think we will get if we're in the real world. I don't think we're going to get rid of both of them. I know what you mean, Oliver. It's wishful thinking, isn't it? But I was scratching my. I was looking for like some rumors that Jacob Murphy could potentially leave, and I feel bad saying this because he's been phenomenal for us, and he's the turnaround we've seen him. But the club needs to move forward, and I don't see Langer being sold. We're not going to do that. So let's see how we go from there. But I just wanted to kind of highlight the problems with our front line at the moment. Um, before I get to, I'm going to go to left wing last because obviously that's the side we're going to focus on. But it's a central forward. This is a centre forwards. Voldemort has been doing the best out of all of them. He's got 15 G this season. Actually, only 2 of those goals came from, I don't know how I counted 2 from Germany, but he's got roughly like 13, 14 GA. Most of his goals came from the Premier League. Obviously, after that, he's fallen off a little bit. And there's different reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it too much because I need to start doing the scout profiles, scout reports, but do let me know your thoughts on that. But Wissa has been a disappointment. He's played 800. He's been involved in 23 games this season, 820 minutes played, 3 goals, 1 assist. Now we know he's had a very bad injury from the beginning of this transfer, right? So you have to have some understanding. He has a very, very bad injury, knee injury, and he's been trying to return to fitness ever since then. But if you hear some of the rumors and speculations around what happened, like from the last time he came back from international duty, you go back. He went on an extended break, 3-4. Maybe it was sanctioned, maybe it was not, but there's a reason why Osola is playing and not Voldemort and Wissa. And it's not down to necessarily experience and footballing quality. It's because I think Osola is just doing the basic thing and probably turning up for training and giving it his all. And it's paying off on the field now. So it's giving even more reasons for him to play. So speaking of Osola, let me just take this off as well. Speaking of Osola he's now played 30 games in this. Obviously, he hasn't started too many. He's got 952 minutes, so nearly 1,000. He's now got 6 goals, most of them in the Premier League now, and 1 assist. So he's on 7 GA. There's a good chance if he continues like this that he might get 10 goals this season. But again, in terms of our forward line, this is mid-tier to lower tier return and output, which again kind of highlights just how much and how big a job it is for us to kind of replace them. Again, we're not going to be doing the centre forwards today. But again, this is why I think, for instance, the likes of Jacob Murphy need to be moved on to give us more financial headroom to really bring in some quality, which is going to be more difficult to do now that we're not going to be in Europe, more than likely. We're not going to sell Voldemort, I don't believe, even though he's not our profile of player, in my view. I know there's different views on it, but just give in mind, I think we're actively trying to sell Wissa from what I can see in reports. And I think we're ready to take the hit on Wissa. I think there's a question mark over Osola because he is of the profile and type that Eddie Howe likes. I think what lets him down is his first touch and to think ahead. But he's working so hard, and you can tell, and it's paying off. Plus, selling him yields very little return. SCR-wise, his wages are low. He's on 35k. His amortization is very, very low because we bought him 15 million. So the benefit of selling him far up, especially when we're looking for youngsters just of his physicality and quality, doesn't make sense. Or there's less benefit in selling him. Wissa makes by far the most sense to sell. So that's why Newcastle have been very public about we're buying another centre forward as well. But again, just to highlight, the output of our forward line has been bad. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. James is, to be honest, I don't even remember the 3 goals that he has. I know one of them was against Fulham. I can't remember the other ones, but I know one of them was against Fulham. James says, Wissa are the other two? Well, oh, I don't know. They might be actually. I can't remember where he got them from. Let me just double check actually, because I do have the sofa score up actually. Let me see. Wissa. Where did he get the other 2 goals from? He's got 1 goal in the Premier League, 1 goal in the 1 goal and 1 assist in the Champions League, and 1 goal in the League Cup. So Wissa's got 1 goal in the Premier League, guys. We pay 55 million for it. That is scary. But let's talk about our left wing forwards. As that is the area of the front line that we are going to be talking about. Now, from the jump, our left wing forwards, Gordon and Barnes, are dramatically, significantly having a better season compared to anybody else on our front line. Now, we haven't seen it is spread across all comps, and I would like more in the Premier League, but they've been carrying the weight for a dire front line. To start off with Barnes, he's been involved in 52 games, again, which is a good thing. We're talking about availability. Gordon's been involved in 46. Again, availability, phenomenal. He's played 3,162 minutes. Barnes has. Gordon has played 2,800 plus minutes as well. So again, availability, very, very good, very consistent. Unlike Wissa, for instance. Barnes has 19 GA this season, guys. That's really, really, really good. Now it's spread across Premier. He's got 5 goals in the Premier League. I would like that to be double, but fair enough. He's got Champions League 6 goals and 4 assists. That's where he's got most of his return. He's been having a great time there. And 3 goals in the FA Cup and 1 assist in the League Cup. Again, like I said, I'd love to have more goals in the Premier League, but when you've got 19 GA and on the right hand side, the right wing opposite you has got 1 assist all season, for instance, you can't complain. You're doing absolutely phenomenal. Gordon is having even a better season still. He's played, like I said, being consistent with the timings, but he's got 22 GA, 6 goals in the Premier League and 2 assists. Again, I'd like that to be at least double, but he's got 10 goals in the Champions League with 2 assists, 1 goal in the FA Cup and 1 assist, and the sign there is covering it. So let me just find what he's got in the League Cup before we move on. But the overall point is their output has been very, very good. Very, very, very good. He's got nothing in the League Cup, which is fine. Gordon. But our left wing forwards are on 19 GA and 22 GA respectively. I'm not too mad. Like I said, I would like the Premier League goals higher. But when, like I said, our centre forwards and I've got less kind of criticism for Voltemada, but Wissa, Jacob Murphy, Ilanga, terrible. if we're kind of looking at it. So that's kind of outlining where they're at. And if we're focusing on Gordon, that's a lot. That's the second season in a row where he's had 20 plus, not in a row, but second season now for Newcastle. He's had 20 plus GA for Newcastle United. So that's a lot of output. So yes, if we sell him, we'll make a heap loads of money. We'll remove a lot of the amortization, which I don't think was much left in the too much left either. But also we'll take off about 100 and I can't remember. It's going to show a little bit later. A lot of money in terms of wages as well. But the output, he produces elite output. Gordon does, and so we need to be able to replace that. We need to be able to add to that as well. So the next players that we're going to show have to be able to do that. Lion Point says, big up, guys. Honestly, I'd keep Voldemort for obvious reasons and Osola as a rotation option. But Wissa, get him out. Yeah, I agree. He hasn't brought in anything to the squad. If he wasn't lazy, he could have been a good player. I don't know if he's lazy. I don't know too much. He's just maybe he's just lacking that extra, that hunger that you need, really. This is the highest wages he's ever received in his life. You know, he's never been at this stage in his footballing career. Yeah, it's hard to get out of bed when the bed is made from silk sheets, I think, for him. James says, this is why the players that I would happily leave my club. His fitness has ruined him. And I'll take the money and run after Turkey. Yeah, if anybody's got 20 to 30 million, we're good. You can have him. Wobojog, God bless you. Good to see you. Hey, Phil, just popping in to say hi. We're still winning we're still winning this. Other than that, hello everyone. I hope everyone's doing great. Good to see you, Wobojog, man. After you disappeared for a little while, things were getting a bit shaky. I'm happy that you've plucked up your courage to be here. Right, so like I said, yes, we can sell Mr. Gordon, but there's a lot of output that he brings that we need to bring in. And speaking of output and wages, again, I spoke about Jacob Murphy already. Limited output this season. He's 30 years old, going to be, I think, 31 years old. 1995 date of birth, actually. So what he's like, 31, 32 years. Capology's age thing is rubbish, man. It's about 31, 32 years old. I can't see his weekly salary on here. 43 grand. Not too much, but significant. Gordon's an 170k all in terms of bonuses. Wissa's the one I'm bugging out about. He's on 175k all in, including bonuses. We have to sell him. We have to sell this guy. And if you put all that together, separately, we're looking at the SCR. Anthony Gordon will be saving 8.8 million. We'll be making a profit about 40 to 60 million in terms of PSR boost, which will be et into. Should we sell Wissa, we're going to lose about 20, 25 million of that profit. But also we'll be saving at least 9.1 million in terms of amortization and wages on him, which would be significant for us as well. So if you put all that together, if we were able to sell all four of those players, for instance, which we're not going to do, but if we were to sell them, we could save about 30 million from our SCR, which could mean that we could bring in 2 to 3 elite attackers or 3 to 5 like structured signings. So an example that would be a Delap. Okay, some of you guys are gonna don't focus on the name guy. Goncalo Ramos. Imagine it's Goncalo Ramos. Goncalo Ramos from PSG. I can't think I've got Harvey Elliott here. Maybe say Goncalo Ramos and Magnus Akaliush, for instance, and another forward, for instance, for who's going to cost about 8-10 million. Still a very good forward as well. So there's the kind of deals that we could do. So, like I said, the impact is that Gordon provides elite output. And that's what we're going to miss out on as well if we were to sell him. So we're not going to get a chance to look at Yan Diamande, who's on the left here, but we're going to look at Ibrahim Mbaye and Mr. Afonso Moreira. I didn't get a chance to really look at Yan Diamande in depth. And the main reason, I know that he's linked heavily to Liverpool, PSG, to really big elite clubs. I can't help but feel, and I might be wrong about this, just like skimming through some of his records, he's a very, very talented boy. Don't get me wrong. But I do feel like a lot of this is agent driven. And some of the prices, the money for this is a lot. Um, and we were linked to him by none other than Indicali. Some of us will be rolling our eyes at this, but I think it's interesting that he's linked us to him in the midst of all of this kind of talk around elite clubs. Apologies, I'm eating a lemon because my throat is getting really sore. But I'm going to keep him reserved. The players I'm going to focus on is Ibrahim Mbaye and Afonso Moreira. Let me know if you guys have heard of these guys. Christopher Hoskins says, what PSR? It dies July the 1st. It does die July the 1st. I'm just kind of talking about what it would be, that it would cost us more if we were in PSR to lose the money on Wissa. Plus, from what I understand, it's a bit of a phased out process. So if there's clubs that haven't passed their PSR for 25-26 season, it will still cost them in 26-27 season. So hence why we sold our stadium. But yeah, it is dead. It is dead overall. Wobodrog says, Phil, I saw Jackson in your slides. You did. You did. I genuinely think he's better than João Pedro. Oh, wow. That's a big call. Let me know. That's a big call. Okay. I think he even has better numbers in his first season at Chelsea compared to Pedro's first season at Chelsea as well. I really like Jackson Wobodrog. I really like João Pedro as well. I have to think about who's better because I really like João Pedro, his ability to make the ball stick to his feet. At the same time, though, I like Jackson because of his movement. I think his movement is close to elite. The only thing with Jackson for us, from our perspective, is wages. But that's interesting that you say that. James says, wait, why are we linked to Due Diamande? I'm very surprised if we are. Indicaila's linked us to him. I know. I'm not hanging my hat on this. But he does make some interesting. He was talking about Isak from a while ago, and there's some interesting stuff he kind of links us to. I'm gonna keep track of some of his stuff and see where we're at, especially when it's pertaining to Newcastle. Christopher Hoskins says, Mbaye is 18 now. Diamande is going to Liverpool if his two agents can sort out the court problems. That's an interesting. What court problems? Let me know about that one. Mbaye is a top talent like Due. I hear a lot of good things about him, a lot of good things. Christopher says, Philip, if Howe's staying, I want to see top young talent, not Prem talent. Well, like Isak and Tonali and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll see. I think we'll see with variety for sure. Wobodrog says, I know he's wasteful, but Brentford CEO said it's more important for a striker to have the ability to create XG versus conversion. Yes, I agree with that. Efficiency. Yes. To an extent, I agree with that. Yes. To make your own goals, essentially. Jackson versus Gyökeres, I would. Yes. I would say, I could say Haaland, but that's obvious. Wobojo told them again. When people say all Haaland does is score goals, this is the key part they're missing out on. This is the key part. I absolutely agree with you. James says, 15 goal contributions by Dewey. I mean, this is a wishful thinking. We're in the list Champions League. I know you're thinking, you guys are stuck on Diamante. I know. I'm going to keep it in my back pocket, but it's an interesting call. I don't get this, Chris. Philip, I got El Maye. Oh, El Maye left wing and that PSG kid. I got El Maye left wing and that PSG kid right wing. He can play both. What's interesting about Mbaye is he's right-footed, and we tend to play a right-footed wingers, apart from Jacob Murphy, on our left. His old agents and new agents are in court over bonuses. Oh, under 22. Okay. Let me know. If we're going to build. Sorry, Christopher Hoskins says. Sorry, excuse me. Philip, if we're going to build a top side, we need to pump top youth with talent to raise income and build up the future. I agree. Absolutely. I agree. I think we're trying to do that. I don't know if you saw earlier shows of Bobby Fairview, but I think we're going to spend a lot of money this transfer window. A lot. So let's get into it. Let us get into it. Let's start off with Mr. Afonso Moreira. He's 21 years old. Plays for Olympique Lyonnais. He moved there for £2 million. Previous clubs for €2 million, excuse me. After previously being at Sporting Lisbon, where he had a number of loans and everything else before getting into Olympique Lyonnais. His primary role is inverted left winger for technical precision, vision, and high defensive work rate. So he's more like a the way this described him to me is like he's a wide playmaker. So his current record, which isn't fully accurate on this one, which is annoying, but he's on. It says he's on 10 GA this season, but he's not. This has been updated since then. He's actually on. He's currently on. If I go on SofaScore, he's on 17 GA this season. He's got 7 goals and 10 assists. So he's got 3 goals in the league in the French league, Ligue 1, with 7 assists there, and 2 goals and 2 assists in the UEFA, 2 goals and 1 assist in Coupe de France. So a lot of assists for him, and we're going to see that as a main theme for him, where he's kind of seen more as a creator type of player rather than a finisher. So key performance highlights: he scored the fastest goal in Lyon's history against Lille in the Coupe de France in 45 seconds. He's got elite creativity. We're going to see that in a moment. He ranks in the top percentiles for wingers in Ligue 1 for expected assists and overall XA, excuse me. And recent form, he contributed to 1 goal, 1 assist in the crucial win over PSG. That was I think he assisted Endrick as well. So do look out for that game. I had a chance to see that game, guys, but I had to do something. Really, really good stuff. So current wages and kind of where he's at, he's on 15,000 plus euros per week. So very, very manageable for that. If you keep in mind all the stuff we talked about earlier around wages and everything else, he's like a quarter of Jacob Murphy's wages, for instance, right? And his contract runs out in 2029, so he's still got 3 years left, 2 to 3 years left with with Lyon. But let me know, folks. Last time I heard, Lyon aren't in the greatest financial situation. I don't know if Tuxera is still facing court, but they might be in a vulnerable state. I'm hoping, sort of hoping, so we can get after we get their player, then I hope they'll be fine again. But that's where they're at now. First of all, injury record before we look at his heat map. He's 21 years old. Keep this in mind. Last season, he missed 8 games, 45 days, playing for Sporting Lisbon for an unknown injury. We don't know what that is. Now, in this season, 25-26 season, he's missed 7 games, so that's 37 days, for hamstring injury. Now, Uh, at 21 years old, this isn't bad. This is okay. My only worry is that if that unknown injury was also a hamstring injury, because that will make it 2 hamstring injuries in 2 years, right? But because we don't know what it is, I'll reserve judgment for now. Now, you can also see his heat map for this season for Olympic Lyonnais. Very much on the flanks there, on that left hand side. He does come in at times in that half space as well, but he's to me comes across as very much like on the flanks, you know. Um, and for someone that's kind of described as an inverted winger, I know this. I know you guys will point out that he's got heat map in the penalty box. He does, and obviously that's the point of an inverted winger. But I would have expected a little bit more heat in this half space. Just I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, where he's got these patches of heat here. Um, that might increase the more minutes he plays. But yeah, you can see his heat map essentially there. So and it might come down to Leon's style of play. So let me know what you guys think so far. We're going to read the scouting report in a moment. Well, as much as I resent the Nordic cyborg, I don't get. I going to get how people speak about him like he's some one-dimensional player. Yeah, sometimes banter takes over just reality. I didn't see that Christopher Francoli, 22 million, 23 goals. Christopher says, Philip, with players like this, if with players like this, if House go high press, he will need Mbaye and other players you can cut in and score. You're stealing my thunder, Chris. I'm gonna get to it. But yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Now, this is a mixture. This is from JM Scout, which is a scouting report taken in 15th of March 2026, so only a month ago now. So very, very recent. He classifies Mr. Moriera as an inverted winger and a lightning attacker. He gives him a market value of between 20 to 35 million, which is around 15 to 25, 28 million pounds. Very, very affordable for Newcastle United. Core profile, lightning winger. So Moriera is a confirmed phenomenon who has taken League R by storm following a bargain 2 million move from Sporting Lisbon. He's described as a street footballer with elite technical composure. He acts as a high-intensity transition threat for Lyon. I like the term around street footballer. Street footballer. He combines the raw pace of a traditional winger with the creative output of a modern playmaker, ranking among the top creators in Europe's top Big Five leagues for expected XA assists. Expected assists, but not quite yet. So that's good. Key scouting attributes: he's an elite creative output. He's a high volume chance rank creator, ranking 4th in Europe for top leagues for XA for expected assists per 90. He excels at clipping passes over back lines. We need to see that in Newcastle, and identifying runners with eye of the needle position after attracting pressure. He sounds like exactly what we need. One-to-one dribbling, acceleration, known as a freestyle artist who relishes in one-to-one situations. Like the sound of this guy already. He uses combinations of wicked alterations in pace and body feints and long strides to bypass retreating defenders in transition. Physical resilience, despite a lean 176 centimeter frame, he possesses a low center of gravity and high balance. Unlike we're going to see him on YouTube, we're going to see some YouTube highlights of him in a moment. Unlike many young wingers, he is noted for his refusal to go to the floor, using smart body concepts to ride the challenges and draw fouls in danger zones, which would be good for the league if he were to come to the Premier League. And he's a defensive workhorse. Exceptionally high defensive contributions, 81 percentile. For an attacker, he is a dynamo in the press, leading from the front with relentless work rate and a high volume possession regains in the final third. So some good stuff here. Stuff that I think would work, especially high regains, final third, workhorse. in terms of working in an Eddie Howe system, but there's also some really good stuff where that would help us in the low block situations as well as dribbling situations. So transition situations as well. So pros, he's got his high impact G influence, creativity, is an elite manufacturing, a big chance success, physicality, excellent balance, and mentality. He's a calm killer, as described as that. Cons, weaknesses. He's heavily reliant on his stronger right foot. So he's not both footed. So it's definitely going to be an inverted left winger for us. Decision weight can occasionally rush play when isolated, which happens when you're that age. Aerial duels, limited contribution in the air. I don't think we're going to be overly worried about that for him. Passing being a forward. Passing consistency needs refinement in congested central zones. I think the more games he plays, the better he'll get. The final verdict on him is that Afonso Moreira is the bargain of the season, currently evolving from an underrated gem into a high-ceiling European star. His ability to blend explosive speed with top-tier playmaking makes him the ideal target for elite clubs looking for vertical threat. So really promising profile. Really, really promising profile for him. We're going to look at his highlights in a moment, but as pointed out, we've got his metrics here. Again, this is focused on his League of form, and you can already see here, as mentioned, is a wide playmaker, focus on chance creation, possession-based, and he thrives in possession-based systems. We're trying to find a balance with that in terms of possession-based. Our possession is increasing, but there's a balance between possession and transition for us. Key strengths. He's a key 97 percentile for assists. For instance, he's in the 97 percentile for assists. He's a strong dribbler, 82 percentile for dribbling, 73rd percentile for good for key passes as well. So really, really creative player. He can be dangerous from wide areas with 69 percentile, but obviously the key strengths are dribbling and creation and passing as well. Limitations, though, he has those. So low goal threat, 39 percentile for non-penalty goals. I wonder why that is. And if we go back to the heat map that I showed earlier, where I said he doesn't spend too much time here, and also in this half space here in front of goal, I think that might be the reason for it. So it's less in between the sticks. So if he's always out wide here, you can see why he's getting key passes and assists. He's probably, I assume, he's got a lot of cutbacks, a lot of crosses and key passes. Passes that lead to shots, and essentially. But the more he plays, hopefully, the more I want to see heat maps in and around the penalty area here, but also in the half space in front of the penalty area as well. And I think then you'll see his goal tally going up as well. So he's a creative. So in summary, he's a creative winger who thrives in chance creation, dribbling, and passing. You can see that his dribbling, passing, assists are all very, very, very high. Now, I wanted to put it in the context of him playing for Lyon. That he's not playing in isolation; he's playing for Lyon. And just to quickly say, Lyon's key strengths are their main identity are their possession-orientated side. So they're 72nd percentile for possession. They have a strong defensive, and we're going to look a little bit later to see how he would integrate to Newcastle to play him. They've got a strong defensive strength, defensive structure, 78 percentile. Hence, you hear about him being a workhorse and working really, really hard. And they have a controlled technical style of play. So strengths, good ball control, solid defensive organization, and decent goal output. However, they are limited in their attacking creativity. So you can see why he's such a main creative outlet for them. They have a poor counter-attacking threat, so 44th percentile in that as well. And I wonder why that is. Very low physicality as well. Their physicality, so one-to-one duels, aerial and on the ground as well. So I don't know how they're dealing with that. It's interesting where his is at. I can't see his physicality at the moment. but you can see what the implications are for him, which are it's a team that relies on technical players to break down defenses, of which Mr. Moriera is very good at. So it's fast in transitions and physical duels, even though their physical duels are quite low, to be honest. So they need those type of players to be able to do that. So they're structured positions heavy style side that lacks elite creativity and physical presence. So Mr. Moriera has been a very key outlet for them as well. He's been doing really, really, really well for them. Let me know what you guys think of him. I'm going to put on some highlights of him in a moment as well. This is the first time I've heard of him, and I like what I'm reading from the scouting reports. I like how his metrics are coming up. I like especially that his dribbling stats are really high. His creative stats are really high. His he's a like what they said about him, like doing chipped passes over defensive lines. So I like that he's got that. So he'd be very, very much like part of that. He would add something really, really different to what we're doing and to kind of what we're kind of offering as well. Would he replace immediately from that? Would he replace the output that Gordon provides in goals? No, but in terms of creativity, assists, key passes, there's a strong suggestion that he can. And defensively, would he be able to respond? Gordon's defensive output is elite. In terms of that for Afonso, we'd have to wait and see where he goes from there. Let me see what you guys are saying. Chris says, Philip, want Voldemort to be the Firmino style playmaker. I hope so, but he needs to improve his strength, his physicality, his aggression, because at the moment he's been bullied by defenders. Orbadrug says, just checked Sofa score. Jackson, 35 games, 14 GA, 14 GA, 18.8 XG. Pedro, 32 games, 32 games, 14 GA, 14 GA. Jackson was bought half price. In general, Jackson's better offensive stats versus Pedro, better defensive stats as well. Fair. I wonder though if I was going to say Cole Palmer, but Cole Palmer also plays with Pedro as well. It's close. It's close for me. It's close for me. But it's interesting that we're looking at both of them as well. Chris Hoskins says, Philip, have we spoke to these players yet? We've been linked to Afonso via a Ebola newspaper that we're talking to Leon about him. Philip, the best PSG 2-1 the other day as well. They did beat them. Yeah. And I think he got an assist for Endrick as well. James says it was one that it was one that we were looking at when Leon was in major debt. Yes, I'm interested in him because we have had success buying from the club. Yes, absolutely. So let's have a look at him. Let's get some highlights of him as well. And we'll compare him to let me make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can. We will compare him to Mr. Mbaye in a moment. Big up Brazil Scout. This was done like a month ago. They've compared him to Martinelli, a couple Fred Chiesa. I don't know the gentleman in the middle, but they've got pace, dribbling, bravery, acceleration for him in terms of strengths. So let's see what he's got here. Interesting that they compared him to Martinelli. Let me know how you guys feel about that. I personally don't mind Martin. I think I like him. Let me know what you think about Wobbledog. Oh, the high press there. causing mistakes. Defensive duty there, picking up the ball, carrying it. There's that acceleration. There's that acceleration from the standing point. Again, on that left-hand side, you see, that's where he gets those goals, or those assists from that left part, from that part of the box. There he's picking it up again. Very right-footed, clean finish. Again on that side of the box there, getting the assist, doing well there. Again on that left-hand side there. Lovely little take, very right-footed. Very right-footed. Oh, lovely dribbling. He looks taller in here. He looks like he's 6 foot, but maybe it's just my eyes. So he's got a good strike on him. And delivery. Showing some of his defensive duties there as well. Picking the ball up, working hard. Look at that. Lovely carry. And then driving with it. Again, from a start. I wonder if you guys are thinking of what I'm thinking of, who he reminds me a little bit of. He's not totally this player, but he reminds me a little bit of Hatton Ben Arfa, especially from a standing position. And then when he accelerates, lovely assist there. Got a lovely way to pass there. He's very right-footed, he is. Look at that. Inbound. There as well, from that right-hand side outside the box. I wonder how many shots he gets per game. In fact, that's a good question. Let me know while you guys are looking at that. How many shots does he get per game? Per 90 minutes. 0.7 on target. But how many? 0.22 shots BCM. It doesn't say how many get per game. Big chances though. Lovely. Picking up on the flank. Then just drives with it. Show one more there. That's how he rises the challenges. You can see he doesn't really like to drop down too much. Again on that left-hand side. Do you know what? I can see why he's always on the flank here. If you just look back at here, I don't know if it's to do with Leon's controlled style. Obviously, their counterattacks are really slow, but look how many players are around him. This might be a reason why he doesn't get into the box that much. As well, that's him on the inside here in that. Oh, that's a great tackle. You see him picking up the ball again, dropping back, shot. Unlucky. Let me know, guys, what you think of him before we move to Ibrahim Mbaye. Ian McKenna, this is the knitting channel. I can't find my, what do you call it? What do you call those things? To knit. Can't find it. Christopher Hoskins says, problem you have, Philip, is what has Howe been told about our youth transfers? Will he do what the board want and train and play them? Yeah, why not? Why do you think he won't do that? He did it with Lewis Hall. He did it with Tino, and he's getting stick from our fan base when he got Lewis Hall and Tino. He's doing it with Miley. Why do you think he won't do that? Oliver said, show Lang in this video. James says, we bought off a lot of earlier Oliver Bernard as well. Botman. I thought Botman from Lille. Oh, Leon. James, he hasn't signed for anyone yet. Miley was forced mate because he loves Prem Proven. Why is it? Because you're not the first to say this, Chris. But why is it when Howe gets something right, folks say he was forced to do it or it was by accident? We all know that, for instance, Miley's been played since he was 17 years old. Eddie Howe has built this boy up. Honestly. Like, I don't know why when he does something right, it's like he's done it by accident. He was forced to do it. I just give the credit where it's due. Um, but me personally, I will again. I haven't seen a live game with him yet. I might. Hopefully, I'll get one from. I wonder if Leon have their full games on. But he seems really promising, really interesting player as well. Now, keep him in mind as we look at Ibrahim Maye and compare the two and see where we're at. Now, Ibrahim Mbaye is 18 years old, so he's about 3 years younger than Mr. Moriera. He's got dual nationality, French and Senegalese. His current team is PSG. As a youth, he'd been in the PSG academy, which means you're pretty talented to be able to do that. Key record: he is the youngest player to start a match for PSG history. He was 16 years old and 16 months, which is incredible, and the youngest Senegalese player to score in an African Cup of Nations. That's phenomenal. So he's a bit of a boy wonder, boy talent as well. So let's see his heat map before we see his injury record. But as noted, I can't remember if somebody said it in the chat that he primarily plays on the right for PSG, but he is right-footed, which makes me think why we're also talking to him. So he can play on the right as well, but he can play on the left, and we like those inverted wingers as well. And you can see on the heat map, yes, predominantly it's hot on the right, but there is also some on the left, which shows you his versatility. He hasn't played that many games this season as well, so that has a little bit of time to develop. I just want to highlight that he has, I don't know why I didn't get it on here, but he has done this season. What's he done this season? He's played overall 966 minutes in all cup competitions for PSG. 800 of those minutes were in League R, where he scored 1 goal and 2 assists. So he hasn't had much time with them at all, which you don't blame him for because the squad is super, super, super talented. But this highlights his versatility. Injuries last year, he had an ankle sprain. Must have been quite a bad ankle sprain because he missed 29 days, which was 9 games. 9 games sounds like a lot, and it is. But you have to remember that PSG are consistently in Champions League and a lot of cup competitions. So 9 games sounds like a lot more. But he was away for 29 days. So he was away essentially for about 4 weeks. Yeah, it's about 4 weeks, which isn't too bad. Which sounds like more than an ankle sprain to me. But, what do I know? But so far this season, no injuries at all. Still very, very young. Very, very young. So let's talk about him. So we've got a couple of so I've got a couple of scout reports on him, starting from the ages of 15 to 16 to now, and which gives us a really good kind of comprehensive view of him. Now, overall, he's been classed as an inverted winger with a market value of 30 million, and his contract runs out in 2027. When he's 15, 16 years old, Total Football Analysis looked at him in 2023, and they said that he identified as a standout in France's under 16 setup. And at 16, Mbaye was highlighted for his high-level tactical awareness and off the ball intelligence. Eddie Howe's going to love that. His primary role was a vertical threat who expected gaps in the defensive line, so a transitional player. Even at this early stage, his ability to balance direct running with intelligent positions suggested a maturity beyond his years. And it goes back to maybe what Chris, you were saying about suitability for the team. There's a lot there in terms of being able about his off the ball work, but also positioning, intelligent running that makes him really, really stand out, even at 15, 16 years old. Phase 2 of his development, 16 and a half years. Breakthrough in history maker time. This is EK Scouting, which was done in 2024, so about 2 years ago. Following his debut at PSG's youngest ever starter, 16 years, 6 months, 23 days, against Le Havre, reports emphasize his lightning acceleration and fearlessness. This period marked his transition apologies there, from a youth standout player capable of handling the intensity of Liga. His technical security under pressure began to serve as a primary asset in Luis Enrique's possession-heavy system. So he can do a bit of both. He can do the transition stuff, but he can also technically very, very secure, which he'll need to be if he's to play in the Premier League. Phase 3, the refined professional, 17 years old. This is the more recent scouting report by Hunter Youth Talent Scout on May the 3rd. So this is reviewing the under 19 championship. So analysis, the most recent report described a technically evolved winger standing at 1.85 meters. He is now recognized as a dribbling specialist who can beat defenders with both pace and short dribbling variability. While his goal scoring spontaneity is a weapon, scouts noted a need for more defensive commitment and consistency in his final ball. That kind of defensive commitment, which has dropped off a little bit, might be part of the reason why he hasn't got more minutes playing for PSG. So he's got explosive mastery in one-on-one situations, verticality. So unlike many ball-to-feet wingers, Mbaye is a thrilling, very, very direct, and then a tactical flexibility. He's comfortable playing on either wing, so left or right, which again will be interesting for Newcastle, or as a central forward. So pros, what are the pros and cons for him? Pros, pace, got lots of pace, blistering pace and acceleration. Dribbling is unpredictable. Ambition, always looks to play vertical, lines, breaking passes. Again, we need that if we're gonna, especially if we're gonna create and break down low blocks or just get teams by the surprise. Physicality, he's got a good height, good frame, a wide player as well, so strong. He's going to need to be. Cons, defensive work. That's interesting. That's dropped off since he was 16. Can be uncommitted in tracking back, which won't work for us. Predictability, dribbling patterns can become repetitive. And decision weight. Final ball and finishing need refinement. Experience is also, he's 18. He's still adjusting in a 90-minute senior load. So it's not the finished article by far. So the final verdict on him is that Ibrahim Maye is no longer just a prospect. He's a history-making reality for PSG. His development... My sinus are kicking up. His development from a tactical under-16 specialist to a Bundesliga-ready physical powerhouse has been meteoric. While he must add variety to his defensive game, his spontaneous shooting and 1v1 destabilization make him a potential world-class successor to the elite wingers of the Parc des Princes. So he sounds like a really raw talent, right? And you can see his and there's plenty to get excited about. His pace, his dribbling, his technical ability on and off the ball, his versatility. But there's obviously concerns about tracking back, not attitude, but tracking back and kind of pushing himself. You can see why PSG are open to selling him. This is part of the reason why they sold Mbappe and Neymar and others as well. So you can see his you can see to the left, guys, his metric on the left here, and then on the right, PSG. So you can see the context of the team that he's playing for. So literally, PSG are incredible in everything and nearly incredible in counter-attacking. Now, the reason why they're not really high on the counter-attacking, which is his strength, is because they keep a lot of possession. So they don't need to counter-attack as much. Their possession is elite. Their attacking is elite. So they have the ball most of the time, that they are ready to move it when they need to. Now you can see his ball carrying is at an elite level. So he can do that part of the game. His dribbling is a little bit less, which is surprising. I wonder if that's because obviously he's playing for a team that does that. But key passes, assists, non-penalty goals are in a good place for an 18-year-old for sure. So if you kind of talk about what is his identity, he's a direct winger, he's a ball progressor, he carries the ball, creates chances, plays in the high tempo and attacking systems. A lot of the stuff I can imagine Eddie Howe and the recruitment team liking. Key strengths: elite progressive carrying, strong creative output, high key passes, and dangerous in transitions and open space. You'd love to play for Newcastle in those type of situations. He has those limitations though. He's got a low goal threat at 28 percentile. His average dribbling success is 60 percentile. So at 18, he may be just figuring out when and how to dribble and what to do. And scouting reports have talked about his dribbling patterns being repetitive. Once defenders figure you out, and they will figure you out, do you have an answer for that, essentially? And it's got a low crossing output as well, which I wonder, I don't know if that's part of playing for PSG or if that's in him. That's just how he is. So he's a dynamic ball carrier. He's a creates chances, but there's still a lot of rawness to him as well. Now he's playing for a team that's got an elite attacking side, really extreme in terms of their high possession play side, high press and intensity side as well, high in physicality. But their weakness, what if you can call it that, a weakness, is they don't do many counter attacking. So they're 64 percentile for counter attacks, which is a big thing for Mbaye because he seems to be really good at that. But the team he's playing for don't really do that as much. He's fast, and the tactical implications, he's fast, is aggressive attacking football and high territorial dominance. So it relies on wide players to progress the ball either via carrying or dribbling, which he hasn't been too great at as well. So you can see that from him. You can see at the top here that he's at the top. I should have put their pictures, but he's at the top. He's currently got 1 goal, 2 assists in League R from 966 minutes. Well, sorry, this season overall from 966 minutes. Whereas Alex Moriera, for instance, has 17 GA in all comps as well. So we're going to compare the two in a moment. But let's see Ibrahim Maye on the old YouTube. While I want before we get to it, I'm going to set it up. But before we get to it, I'm going to read you guys' chats. Right, so where are you? Let me see if you guys can see this. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can. Let's have a look at Ibrahim Mbaye. This is 2025. I wonder if there's a little bit more recent. Sorry guys, I'm just wondering if there's anything more recent. Because I want to see him playing for PSG. All right, sorry. Here we go. Brilliant. Let me get this on. All right, so let's have a look at this. So you can see him coming up from that right side. Really low center of gravity. The dribbling sections there. Acceleration, fast acceleration, strength as well. Using his body to get past his man with the cutbacks as well. From that right side, lots of acceleration there. You can see it. He really dips his body down when he's about to progress through as well. Uses left foot there as well for that cross. Lovely start from him there. Zim picking up there as well. Unlucky there. So you can see he's got that. You can see that he's really, really good. with his dribbling, getting past plays, using his body, using his strength as well. This time from the right-hand side, showing his versatility as well. Able to pick up the ball, be brave with it as well, as you have to be with the PSG team as well. Lovely skill there to get past his man. Holding up the ball, good strength. I love his acceleration. And with the way he's moved his body, it's not always clear if he's going to move left or right. Unlucky then. Lucky not to get the assist as well. But you can see he probably has a lot more crossing playing from the right-hand side. Lovely drop of the shoulder, getting past his man, able to ride the challenges. Great stuff. Great take. With his right foot there. Lovely goal. And he's capable of that. Really good acceleration there as well, after letting the ball roll past him. Got Champions League experience, European experience, playing for a side that's winning stuff. I saw a report today that he wasn't even in the first team for that game against Lyon as well. So it sounds like he's out of favour. But you can see there's a lot to like there as well. Just show this one as well. Lovely pick-up acceleration through the legs. Interesting player. Let me know what you guys think before we compare him and then see how he'll do for Newcastle. And we'll close up the show. Wow, new people in the show. Good to see. Please do remember, folks, to like, share, and subscribe as well. James says Sean Neve needs to see a number alone. I would like to see him go over to PSV to be the first team footballer. I would like to make a good. That's a good call, actually, James. That's a good call. Kaz, welcome to the show. God bless you. Says Miley would most likely not play first team football with us. Why? Would not like. It's not Mr. Tonali, Anderson, Joelinton, Willock due to injury suspensions. Will most likely not play first team for us. He would. I think he would. Why would he not play first team? I think he would. Chris says because his nephew admits he doesn't know foreign leagues when he wanted so much money over years. His stocks was high, so he did what he wants. But his 3 seasons lose 20 games. Yet his most expensive signings are from abroad. I don't know. Isak, Woltemade, Bruno Gomes, Tonali. Like, I don't know. This whole thing about his not being about players from abroad is a myth to me. Howe is very much anti-youth. I disagree. Livramento, Hall, Miley, all says to me otherwise. James says Due specializes playing on the right, but Enzo, I think he's talking to somebody else there. Cass says, how is anti-youth? Only one academy player got a fair chance under him in 5 years, and that's unacceptable. Our academy isn't good. Kaz, it's not that good. It's getting better. Our under 15s and under 16s are doing phenomenal. Our under 21s are here and there. But academy has only just recently, in the last 5 years, been invested into. That's not his fault. That's not his fault. James says he's for me not yet a player, Ibrahim Mbaye. Yeah, I think it comes across as raw, really, really raw, but definitely a high ceiling. Chris says, the problem is finding the talent ID is not easy, and getting players between 8 to 22 will be fun, but I can't see how crying and wasting money again. But not getting players between 18 and 22. I think we will. I can't see how wasting money again. I don't get it, Chris. I don't know what you mean by that. In terms of like You don't think he's going to get young players, or you don't believe he can get the right ones? James says under 21s of the main problem. Under 18s are top three. Unders, the main problem. Under 18s are top three. Under 16s, when I last checked, they were there with the first. Yeah, they're incredible. It's getting better, but it's not quite there yet. A couple more years. Wilbur Jock says, if you lose Tonali, what are your thoughts on Hinshelwood, and how much do you think he would cost? Probably my favorite player out of the believer in that team. Wilbur Jock, he said, are we after Hinshelwood? He said that. I didn't know that. I think he's a good player. I do think he's a good player. I need to watch him a little bit more closely because I do think about him a lot. Um, Underrated from the sense of no one like, I think you're the first person, Wilbur, who's ever mentioned him to me. I think before I give a definitive answer on him, I have to look at him a little bit more. But my first thoughts are he's a good player. I wouldn't mind him. Right. So if you compare the two, Afonso, let me make sure you guys can see this. I think you can. Yeah, you can. So Afonso versus Ibrahim. So Afonso's more the creative winger and the final third playmaker. Ibrahim is more direct winger and the ball progressor. Key differences. Afonso is elite assist maker and strong dribbling, creates chances in tight spaces. Ibrahim, more of an elite ball carrying winger, high key passes, drives attacks forward, right? Goal threat. Both have a low scoring output, though, regardless. uh, they are creators and not finishers. I think at this stage, and I think some of it depends on the teams that they're playing for. Key context: Afonso is the main creative outlet for Leon. Right, we've seen that Leon aren't a great creative team. He is their main creative outlet. Ibrahim, though, is part of an elite attacking system. He's like part of a part, right? The main takeaway from both of them is that Afonso is all about creativity and Ibrahim is all about progression, or mainly about progression, right? So I broke it down into my view, kind of matching up to looking at them who would suit Newcastle better and what it could mean, because I'm keen to hear what you guys think. And it goes back to what I think Chris and others have said a little bit earlier. But so Newcastle, reminding ourselves what is Newcastle's current identity, which is we're high pressing intensity, strong physical. We're high pressing intensity, a strong physicality, and we're a direct transitional attacking style. A team built on intensity and verticality, though that's been missing a little bit of recent. Um, the main take we can take from that is Alfonso in that situation upgrades the attack because he adds something different and creativity. But Ibrahim fits the identity. Ibrahim is ready made for the Newcastle system. So Ibrahim aligns with the physicality, the high tempo, the transitions and the heavy attacks. So he fits identity currently. Whereas Afonso adds elite creativity and control. He's better suited to a possession-based type of team. So signing him could signal an evolution in style, which is what we've been looking at a few players that do that. We looked at Rico Lewis, for instance, and Harvey Elliott, for instance. So my perspective. So I agree that Ibrahim is the better fit now, if you're talking about players now. But for me, Alfonso represents a shift towards a more controlled and creative football and less reliance on pure transition. And hence why, if we're looking at profile of player, yes, like we said, Mbaye has all the attributes now for the player now, but I'll be more excited and more willing to push the button on a player like Afonso Moreira for his ability for his like possession-based style, his creativity, his ability to control tempo, for him to kind of change the way we attack as well. It's quite different. Plus, he's 21 years old. He's had a full breakout season. He's shown he's able to have tenacity and track back and work hard as well. Mbaye is still kind of figuring himself out. So I would certainly be more. But I think what Mbaye has is obviously also that versatility, so you can play on the left and right flank as well. So for me, if we had to choose between the two, I would prefer to go for Afonso. And I've been kind of quite like that in terms of players in general recently because, I didn't mind Enrico Lewis, I didn't mind the Harvey Elliott to a certain degree, if it signaled an evolution in our play style. So that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. I'll be really keen to get your views before we close on the show. I'll be really keen to see what you guys are thinking. He's not yet. James says, no, I read that one. James says, I would still say Afonso Moreira is slightly cheaper option, but generally a higher level than Mbaye. I agree, James. I agree. I'm gonna keep tabs on him because he sounds like from what I've seen in the clips and everything else, is super kind of seems quite promising, exciting. And like I said, if we were to go for him, it kind of signals another evolution in our style of play. So I'll be more than keen to look at him a little bit more. But folks, you have all been incredible as always. I've had some deep discussions with you guys today about not just about Eddie Howe, the match reaction to the game, Eddie Howe in, Eddie Howe out, what are PIF doing in regards to that situation. You guys know where I stand on it. Then we talked about obviously the player scouting, but we took about it in depth. We looked across the whole squad. We looked at more focusing on the front lines, the key issues around, I personally feel that if we're really looking to upgrade, we have to do more than just move on the likes of Wissa. We have to replace the output of Gordon, but also we have to be serious about evolving the team and getting past the type of players like Jacob Murphy. So we've looked at a couple of young players today, Mbaye and Moriera, both really, really, really talented players. I like the sound of Moriera a lot more because of what a player like that would add, that control, that ability to break lines, ability on and off the ball as well. And he kind of also take us away from being too reliant on a transition team to a team who can be good in tight spaces, who can break down low blocks. He adds, if Anthony Gordon was to go, he can replace the creativity end of things. He'll have to work on the goal end of things, but the creativity is there. Plus, he's even though he's an inverted winger like Barnes is, he has the dribbling skills and the creativity more than Barnes. So he adds a little bit more in terms of the profile. Adds another tool to our arm to our repertoire, if that makes sense as well. So it's definitely the player that I'll be going for as well. But you guys have been phenomenal. You've been liking, you've been sharing, you've been subscribing, you've been engaging throughout the show. Start to finish, you've been absolutely brilliant. We've disagreed on some things, we've agreed on some things. You've been amazing. But as always, folks, you've been incredible as always. Make sure you look after yourselves. And as always, folks, God bless and take care.